Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Glory Glory My Night podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kel Quinn, and Brush is back with me again this week. And we're going to be talking United against Southampton. We're going to be talking about the referee, Anthony Taylor, unfortunately. We're going to be talking about another suspension for Casemiro, and we'll get on to some transfer rumours, including Harry Kane and Ewan Ferguson and so on, leading the show. But yeah, first of all, Brush, do you think it was a point gained or 2 points dropped?
Oh, it's a difficult one, isn't it? By the end of it, I'd say it was probably a point gained, but the opportunity was there and we let it slip away.
Yeah, unfortunately, the when we go down to 10 men, we are obviously seen in the Palace game and again yesterday. It's very tough. I've seen the likes of Man City still being able to dominate games with 10 men. Not the case with us.
Mm,
Southampton had large spells of domination. Um, had numerous chances. The guy had to be called upon. They hit the woodwork. And we did have our own chances as well. Bruno Fernandez. I don't know about you, but I thought he scored the one that was tipped onto the post. Some of the crowd with his
yeah,
goal.
I wanted to see the replay of that immediately because I thought it might have crossed the line before it went out.
Yeah, some of the crowd in the Stratford end, I think, were
Yeah,
already cheering, because they thought it was in. Um, but I tell you what, the problem that I've got with the referee is not Casemiro being sent off; it's a total lack of consistency. Um, there was an incident in the Chelsea Leicester game
Oh
where,
yeah, how Pereira didn't see red, I don't know. On João Felix.
yeah, that's a red card all day long.
Yeah.
This is what pisses me off. Um, Nick Pope,
Mm.
how does he stay on the pitch? How is it not a penalty?
Yeah, the consistency is the main issue. Like the actual tackle itself, I'll tell you what, like I know he got the ball by the letter of the law, he got the ball. But when you see it from certain angles, I mean, it was a very reckless challenge as well. Um, One that could have caused serious injury to the player. It's one of those, kind of like from our point of view, yeah, I totally get it. You could have got off with a yellow. If it happens to us, I'd probably feel the opposite way.
Yeah, the thing is with Casemiro, if I'm going to be critical of the player, I think he should need to stay on his feet more. He loves to
Yeah,
lunge in, and already in his United career, he's equaled the number of red cards that he got at Real Madrid. He got two for Madrid in the decade at the club, and he's a two already for United. And he's at one in February and one in March, and this is like a throwback to the days of Roy Keane constantly getting suspended. And it's
yeah.
definitely not what we need considering the lack of alternatives to Casemiro. I mean,
Yeah,
so
that's what I was about to say. At least when Roy got sent off, we had Nicky Butt waiting in the wings. There really is no replacement at all of any kind for Cass.
yeah, there's not. And McTominay had to come on for Vikhorst, which gave us absolutely no outlet then, and we missed his work rate, his
Yeah,
pressing. Um, yeah, I'm
I
not
thought
sure.
Scotty did well though. Credit to him. As far as cameo appearance, substitute appearances go, I thought he did all right.
Yeah, he did all right, but I mean, he's never going to. He just doesn't have the skill set of Casemiro, so it's an
Hmm.
impossible task really for him. But Fred didn't come on to very very late in the game. Savitzer wasn't available. I don't know how long he's going to be out for. He's missed a few
Yeah.
games now. So just looking at our midfield options,
Hmm.
domestically anyway, it looks like we're back to the old McFred.
Yeah, it makes a grim reading, doesn't it?
It,
Yeah. And that's the thing. You go McFred, and then there's no backup on the bench.
Yeah, you're down to like a 17-year-old then, Kobe Menu.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so it was a disaster from a United point of view, that red
Mm.
card. Um, Very quickly, there came a scenario that a point would have been a result. Obviously, some fans will still be disappointed with throwing it home to relegation fodder. Let's be honest, but in the circumstances, I think a lot of fans were just relieved to get away with the
Yeah.
point.
The one thing that annoyed me though, obviously, it robbed us of seeing how we set up because I was quite intrigued by Sancho in the 10, Bruno playing a bit deeper, and that midfield three. I thought, all right, it'll be an interesting shout this because I've been saying for a little while that with Sancho, you're not going to see the best out of him out wide because in this league you're simply not going to outpace anyone, and that's not really his game anyway. And I was really intrigued to see how he would fit in that role because technically he's a very tidy player, and he can pick out those passes for those 1-2s. And there was a moment in the first half as well where he picked out Rashford, and Rashford really should have done a bit better, either with his shot or by squaring it to Weghorst.
Yeah, I think Weghorst was very, very frustrated with
Yeah.
Rashford on that occasion. Um, yeah, Sancho. Yeah, it was a very attacking team. I was very
Mm.
happy with that when I seen the team sheet drop. But um, in the end, Sancho came in for a lot of criticism for his performance by the fans. But
Yeah,
again,
but then it was one of those things. I mean, once we went down to 10, I don't think he could operate and do what he wanted to do. And I saw glimpses in the first half of what he was trying to do, and I was quite happy with that, to be honest.
yeah, it's hard to judge everybody when it's 10v11 because
Yeah.
it's the circumstances have totally changed, and you know, defenders are going to become the most important players on the pitch.
Hmm.
And Martinez was absolutely unbelievable again, as he was when we were down to 10 against Palace. And De Gea again was excellent. So,
Yeah.
which one of the and Luke Shaw had a really good game as well. So,
Hmm.
which one was your man of the match?
I'd probably edge it to Martinez. But yeah, shout out to Dave as well. Point blank saves and that. He really kept us in it. But Martinez, considering he was on a yellow card as well, like it's fantastic performance.
Yeah, he he was, yeah. And yeah, no. The more I think about it, the more there's been a lot of debate recently about the captaincy. And you said
Mm.
last week as well that because Licha is young, that and he'll
Yeah.
be around a long time at United, hopefully. That
Yeah, yeah,
maybe,
he's 25. For me, that he's the natural heir to that.
yeah, and he speaks English as well, which people put a
Hmm.
lot of importance on. So yeah, if I was going to make that change in the summer, I would go with Licha. But I'd be, I'm not sure the manager will take it off Bruno because,
No.
but we have seen that the manager can be ruthless. He's certainly not afraid to do that. But it would have to be managed carefully because you want to lose the player and all that. Even though Bruno's not even really the captain anyway, he's just a deputy for Maguire because Maguire doesn't play. So it'll
Yeah.
be an interesting decision to make in the summer. At least we have a few candidates now, whereas before we
There was-
there was none.
yeah. Yeah,
um,
that's the thing. I think what's most likely to happen is it'll be Leach that gets the vice, and then they'll keep it on Bruno, and it'll be shared between the two. It'll be one of those ones, I think.
yeah, quite possibly, or he could opt for Casemiro, or probably not Varane because he's a tendency to miss
Yeah.
games. Um,
With Castro, if he's your captain, I mean, he has to rein in the cards.
Yeah, 100%. It's becoming frustrating now. That's a
Yeah.
four-game suspension. A four-game
Yeah,
suspension.
yeah, and also one or two of his passes are a bit sloppy as well. Now I don't know if that's because there's a lack of support but yeah, that's a bit concerning. Have you found that concerning?
Yeah, sometimes his passes can be absolutely brilliant, and then the next one can be really sloppy. But then
Yeah,
at least half the time he plays a sloppy pass, he wins the ball back immediately anyway. Yeah.
that is true. Yeah, it's when he loses it in our half that I don't like. Actually, the passes I've been impressed with are the ones where he tries to make things happen going forward.
Yeah, 100%. He does even passes forward that are brilliant without even looking.
Mm,
So yeah, he's better technically than I thought that he was. So yeah, he's going to be a big miss domestically, because one of these games that he's going to miss is going to be not only the FA Cup quarter final, but away to Newcastle, which is going to be a very tough fixture. Um, so Casemiro for the time being is going to be a Europa League player, it seems,
yeah.
um, and we're progressing well in that competition. So
Mm,
no reason why we can't go on and win it. To be honest, even if we got Juve, still fancy us to beat them. Um, Arsenal, I think, will eventually put all their eggs into the Premier League.
Yeah, surely they'd have to prioritize the league, won't they?
Yeah, 100%. Although Sevilla is also in the competition and he can never
Mm.
be written off. The Europa
Oh,
League
I
is
mean,
their
they
trophy.
are the they are the masters of the Europa League. I think they've won it the record amount of times, haven't they? Sevilla.
Yeah, yeah, they're like Madrid and the Champions League. It's just
Yeah, yeah.
it's a happy marriage.
Mm.
Yeah. So despite Wan-Bissaka making a very important clearance off the line yesterday, he came in for criticism for his performance. Now everybody wanted him to start over
Mm.
Dallo, given recent performances from both of them, but didn't really have a great game yesterday. What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, but it's a bit of a strange one though, isn't it? Because obviously Dallow's coming for criticism, like you say. So the obvious choice is to put Wamby in there. We just have to quickly move on from it, to be honest, and hope that he picks up his game. Again, when it goes down to 10, it's very difficult to assess because, I mean, I thought the straightforward thing to do when you go down to 10 would be to go to a 4-4-1 and pack out the midfield, but we didn't really do that, and our midfield was very exposed yesterday. They actually played like the home team. It was crazy. So when you're really against it and it's just your defense getting tested time and time again, it's quite difficult and unfair on some of those players to just critique that. I think.
Yeah, yeah, that's the same as what I said earlier. Yeah, it's
Mm,
you have to be fair to people. You know, when it's 10v11. It's a different set of circumstances, and people can't express themselves. Uh,
exactly. So like what I do want to judge is the first half. Like when Anthony laid off one or two balls to him and he was getting forward. I mean, obviously, in his end product is not all there when he makes those forward runs. He needs to improve on his crossing, but these are criticisms that that we know. Uh, yeah.
yeah, a certain right back who's been linked with United, Jeremiah Frimpong, scored at the weekend against Werder
Mm.
Bremen. And he's Dutch. He's from Amsterdam. You know, you can just see it happening, can't you? But the question is, who's gonna leave the club? Is it gonna be One B or is it gonna be Dallo? That's a big decision for the manager to make. But I have
Mm.
no doubts in my mind that he's going to bring in a right back in this next transfer window.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, yeah, it just it the red card really just ruined everything. I'm afraid, and we were happy with the point in the end. In order to try and get the 3 points, what the manager did was take off Sancho and Anthony and bring on Palestri and Garnacho. Very obvious moves to make. I think they were the only real attacking threats on the bench. Um, I'm once
Especially after
again,
the cameo that Pelestri had the other night as well. I'm glad that he's starting to get more game time.
yeah, absolutely. Now what we saw again was more pretty annoying refereeing. A scissor
Mm,
tackle from Kyle Walker-Peters on Alejandro Garnacho was led to him leaving
yeah.
the game in crutches. We've seen this already this season. We've watched this movie before. Andy Carroll and Christian Eriksen,
Hmm.
yet not even a booking, not even a booking for that tackle.
Yeah, yeah. It was a bad one. You could tell by the way he just laid on the floor that he was injured, and he didn't look right as well afterwards because obviously he tried to shake it off and tried to walk about, and you could tell he wasn't the same. Um, so yeah, I just hope that didn't aggravate him more, to be honest, because I wanted him off as soon as.
Yeah, eventually he did take him off, and he said he doesn't think the injury is serious.
Mm,
But it was a precautionary move to take him off. So Ten Hag doesn't seem that worried about it. Another refereeing call that was made. There was a couple. The I think it was the Peters tackle on Fernandez. I think, if I'm being honest, I think he gets the ball there. I know
mm.
there's follow through, but I don't think you give a penalty there. I don't blame the referee there. But I do have to say that the the Bella catch up, that's
Yeah,
how you
yeah.
pronounce it,
The
right?
the handball one.
That is a
Yeah.
penalty all day long for me. I don't care what
Yeah, when
Dermot Gallagher says on Sky Sports.
yeah,
That's a
when he's on
penalty.
all fours. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, he clearly blocks the path of the ball with his hand there. I don't care if he pulls it away after the ball's already touched his arm. That's what Dermot Gallagher tried to make that excuse for him.
Mm.
Again, it's these shows on TV are absolutely pointless because I'm sick of ref watch and or like even live games that have these former referees
Mhm.
on. They're always just going to stick up for their colleagues. I mean, they were called out like a week ago, when I think it was a Champions League game involving Chelsea and Dortmund, where the Peter Walton, he was agreeing with the on-field decision. Then the referee was sent to the screen, changed his mind, and then the referee just said he agreed with that decision then as well. Which is it,
Yeah,
Peter? Which is it? It just shows you that it's just the referees' union and they don't actually tell the truth. Um,
absolutely. I don't know how to solve that problem, to be honest. How I think the only thing we can do is maybe start sending our refs abroad and getting other refs in as well here, so that eventually the standard is the same everywhere.
yeah, I'd love to see some of the best refs going to England, but
Hmm.
it might not be possible. What's been happening is that Hard Webb, who's now in charge of the referees association,
Mm.
the PGMOL, whatever it's called, he just took it over there quite recently. He's made the decision that VAR should only intervene in like in exceptional circumstances, and he set what
Mm.
he calls a very high bar. Um, that's leading to a lot of really poor decisions being made, and VAR not intervening to overturn those decisions. Like the Nick Pope against Wolves decision, he should have been
Hmm.
sent off and a penalty given there, but because of the very high bar, nothing was done about it. So Harwave's first decision as the man in charge, is to bring in that high bar, and it's not worked. It's made things worse. Like every time they make, they modify the process, they keep making it worse. These referees. So yeah, I don't.
It doesn't seem to be as much of a problem around other parts of Europe. I feel like we're the ones that really struggle with this. So yeah, questions need to be asked.
Yeah, I noticed in the majority of Champions League and Europa League games,
Mm.
the referees, between the on-field referee and the VAR, they tend to get it right. There is the odd one, usually involving Barcelona, when they don't get it right. Um, but yeah, yeah, by and large, they seem to do a better job with using the technology. Um, some people have said there's an arrogance within English football that we can do things better, but that has not been successful so far. There should be consistency across the board, when it comes to the use of technology, not different countries making up different rules, and that really frustrates me. But Anthony Taylor as a whole, I said this the last time he refereed us, and the time before that. Every time he's in charge of United games, we don't win the game, and there's always controversial
Mm.
decisions or inconsistencies. Um, I think United complained about him the last time he refereed one of our games. I'm hoping now that he will not referee us for the rest of the season now, because it's just becoming a farce at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've just heard as well that United aren't going to appeal Casemiro's red, so he
I
is
didn't
going to
think so.
miss 4 games. Yeah.
They'll end up with a 5 game ban if they did that, I think.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it's not the Casemiro red card that I have a problem with when it comes to
Mm.
Anthony Taylor. It's the lack of consistency. You
Yeah.
know, he
Yeah,
had to.
especially on the same weekend when you see that Pereira challenge on João Felix, you just think how.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and the lack of penalty for that handball, and not even a yellow for the scissor tackle on
Hmm.
Garnacho. Um, it's just a disgraceful performance from the referee. He's either completely incompetent or he's a cheat. Pick one. Is he supposed to be? He's supposed to be the number one referee in the Premier League. He goes to the World Cup and the Champions League and all.
Hmm.
Uh, if the standard is very low, if that's the case, yeah. At least if he was a cheat, then he would have an excuse. But he's just. I'm going to assume that he's not given the benefit of the doubt. He's
Yeah.
just a really, really poor, incompetent referee, and he's supposed to be the number one in terms of the rankings in England.
Yeah.
Um,
Away from the referee though, for the second half, I mean, I think we could have managed it a bit better in terms of how we set up. Usually when we go down to 10, I always think the logical thing to do would be to pack out the midfield, keep the same shape in defense, and then try and, hit teams on the counter. And we didn't really do that. Do you think Ten Hag missed out on an opportunity there?
Yeah, absolutely. He's having to think on his feet, but then you could say that's what he's paid to do.
Yeah.
Probably didn't really get it right on the day.
Mm.
I've seen managers in the past, like Mourinho, reacting to like the Nani sending off against Real
Hmm.
Madrid, brought on Modric straight away, and they
Yeah.
dominated the midfield then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Because I thought the midfield balance was all off yesterday. I would have liked to have seen Fred a bit sooner, perhaps.
yeah, I was going to say, is there any particular reason why he didn't come on until the 90th minute?
No idea. No idea. I can only assume it was tactical, but I don't know. I thought it was very weird the way we set up in the second half with 10 men.
Why did Maguire come on? Was that because Southampton brought on a big centre forward and they were trying to nullify him?
Again, that was another one when it was when it was happening. I thought it was quite strange,
Yeah,
especially in place of Martinez, because I thought maybe you're going to bring him on as an additional defender and just lock things down. But yeah, that was a bit strange.
or maybe he was going to go up front again, like Sociedad. Um,
Yeah, as the number nine. Yeah, no, the way we were bypassing midfield, though, it reminded me. It gave me flashbacks to last season against Brighton.
yeah. Did you see? He played a very very attacking lineup. Essentially, he played
Mm.
when we had 11 men. It was two midfielders and four. Was it? Yeah, two midfielders and four attackers.
Yeah, yeah. I thought maybe it was going to be like with just Cass holding, and then you've got two Roman eights kind of in Bruno and Sancho.
Yeah, but one of those two midfielders was Bruno, who normally is one of the attackers.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so when Casemiro was sent off, we virtually had no central midfielders on the
Basically,
pitch.
basically, and then yeah, and then obviously Scotty came on, but he's the only one then,
Um, yeah, he was. He had a big
and
job
he's
to do.
not capable of doing the job of two men like Cass can.
No, no, absolutely not. Yeah, it was a very frustrating afternoon. Ten Hag can probably be criticised for how he handled the situation.
Mm.
But he expressed, you know, his frustration with the referee as well.
Yeah.
He talked about it at length.
Hmm.
Though I don't. He obviously had to be careful about what you say as a manager because
Yeah,
you'll get.
absolutely, because you know that you're going to get reprimanded, aren't you? And you don't need that.
Yeah, it was just a real. After beating Betis 4-1, and as the expression goes, exercising the ghosts of Anfield, I
Mm.
thought playing the bottom team at home that should be another 3 points. But this is why the bookies drive around in Rolls Royces because there could be a red card and then there's a spanning thrown in the works. And
Absolutely, and the table is so tight as well, and all the bottom clubs picked up points this weekend. I mean, big wins for Bournemouth and Everton as well. And yeah, yeah, it's very difficult to call this season. I don't know who's going to get relegated. One result changes it for all of them. So I knew Southampton would be no pushovers. Uh, the only critique I have of us is I would like us to be more clinical because it's not like we don't create chances. We do create chances. We just need to start taking those chances.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And the only consolation was the fact that Liverpool lost at Bournemouth and
Mm.
Mo Salah put a penalty very, very wide of the
Into Rose.
post. Yeah, yeah. Nobody really seen that coming. Just shows you
No.
that Liverpool fans, when they win, they're the cockiest fans on the planet. But didn't take very long for them to be brought crashing back down to earth with that
Yeah,
result.
I think it probably opens their eyes to the fact that it was a bit of a false dawn against us. Just when you think that you've turned the corner, no, normal services resumed. So yeah, for them, they'll probably just be waiting to get to the end of the season and to the summer.
Yeah, and didn't Newcastle won this weekend? I think Tottenham won as well. So
Mm.
top four getting a bit more difficult for Liverpool after it was looking so rosy a week ago. Um,
It's
I'm happy.
amazing how quickly things can change.
Yeah, but I'm delighted about that. Obviously, we don't want them to get
Yeah,
top four. So after I was pretty confident Liverpool would get it after the result last Sunday,
yeah,
but now
yeah.
I'm not so sure. You
Yeah,
know, they
ultimately, I mean, I do think they'll put up a fight for it. Um, a lot will be told in the coming weeks after the international break, because on the return, I think they have. City, Chelsea, and Arsenal all after each other. So I think that'll be quite telling.
Yeah, a lot of big games for Arsenal coming up as well in
Yeah,
April, yeah, including that Liverpool game.
seven Premier League games by the way this April. The fixture list is crazy.
Yeah, that's probably because of our participation in the cup competitions.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think we
yeah, yeah. So if we advance in Europa as well, as you know, I'd like to think we will. That's two-legged tie as well. So you add that into the seven games in April.
yes, and I think as soon as we come back after the international break, we have three
Mm,
games in 6 days as well,
hmm.
all Premier League games.
Yeah, it's proper
Um,
crazy stuff.
so would you expect us to get the job done then in Seville on Thursday night? Do you think it'd be a formality now, wouldn't you? But you never know with this United team.
Yeah, you never know. You have to guard against complacency. But yeah, I would certainly like to see a little bit of rotation. I mean, we keep saying this, but Ten Hag doesn't really rotate too often. But if there is a chance to give players a rest, I would say that this was the one.
Yeah, that's a point that I wanted to make actually. The
Mm,
players in recent weeks have started to look dead on their feet. It
yeah,
was very, very noticeable, and even in the cup final in the
yeah.
second half. So really needs to freshen things up a bit. Unfortunately, Sabitzer hasn't been available for that in
Mm,
midfield. I wanted him to play the last few games, but he's not been available. Palestri, I would love to see him start on Thursday night. It seems
yeah.
before one up, it seems like a good opportunity to do that. But I am frustrated with what I read from Samuel Luckhurst earlier on, is that um, Ten Hag is looking to loan Palestri next season.
Mm.
I don't agree with that. I think he'd be a really great rotational option on the right hand side at the very least.
Same, same. I think him and Ahmad is doing really well on loan actually. So that's another one when he comes back as well. I was looking forward to seeing the both of them as the backup options.
Yeah. Yes, the argument.
Ilanga would be the one I'd get rid of first.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've written him off now, to be honest with you.
Mm,
Um, yeah, Palestri really always brings something to the table when he comes on. You know, he creates a chance, he gets an assist, or he has a shot on goal.
I'll tell you what, I'll tell you what. In an ideal world, if I could combine him and Anthony into one player, that would be brilliant. Because we've
Yeah,
got one that cuts inside and one that does does the work on the outside.
yeah. In many ways, Palestri is quite an old-fashioned right winger.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. He uses right foot, puts crosses into the box, takes his man on, goes on the outside.
Whereas Anthony's a very kind of modern left winger, cutting
Yeah,
in on his left foot. Yeah, we need a bit of a blend there in that
yeah,
position.
exactly. The one thing with Anthony, though, I will say, like, we've seen the very best of his left foot as well, and what a talent that is! If you can just fine hone that, throwback to Robben vibes. But the one thing I would like though is even when he cuts in, I would like him to vary his shots. When he cuts in, you don't always have to go for goal. Like you can float one into the box. You can put crosses in that way.
Or he could shoot to the near post rather than the far post.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That too. And then I think I've said it as well before. What would give us another dimension as well, obviously, depending on the right back situation. Because if Anthony insists on cutting inside, it's not the end of the world, depending on who you have at right back. If you have an intelligent player at the right back who makes those runs forward and can whip a ball in, then that kind of solves the problem for me.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And Frimpong, who I keep talking about, is a
Mm,
very offensive right back. He
yes.
loves to get forward.
Hmm.
Um, but I would think that would be a great balance, though. Like I think I said on the previous show, if you had a Frimpong for games where you want to go on the front foot, and then
Yeah.
games against the bigger teams, you'd
Mm,
want to have Wan-Bissaka there.
yeah.
That'd be a nice balance to have. The problem is that Dallo is kind of okay at everything. He doesn't do anything
Yeah, he doesn't
spectacularly well.
excel at anything, does he? He just
Yeah,
kind of prods along. Yeah.
yeah, he's kind of almost a 6 out of 10 at every single attribute.
Yeah, it's one
Um,
of those.
and he gets, and unfortunately, when he's playing against a really tricky left winger, he gets roasted,
Mm,
like
mm.
we've seen with Saint
Set
Maximan.
Maximan.
Yeah, yeah, he had to be substituted in that game.
Yeah, yeah.
And then St. Maximan didn't get a kick against Juan Bissaka in the second half and was taken off
Yeah.
himself. Yeah, I've seen that happen to Dal before. I think that in the example I always talked about last season was the Villarreal game
Mm.
at home where Dallo was just getting destroyed. I haven't seen a right back performance that bad since Jerome Thomas against a 36-year-old Gary Neville at the Hawthorns. Yeah,
I tell you what, the worst I've seen Gary get destroyed was what the year we took part in the Club World Cup under the old format. Do you remember just after the treble we went over there
Vasco
and
da Gama. Yeah,
Vasco da Gama, yeah,
yeah,
Edmundo and old man Romario just tore him to shreds.
yeah. I think the partly you could use the weather as an excuse. I think that
Yeah.
was it like the Brazilian summer? I mean, United were
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, we had no business being there. It was just, it was the old format of the competition where there was a group stage and we had to exit out of the FA Cup to partake in it. It was just a whole mess.
it's a very strange time, wasn't it? Looking back on it,
Yeah.
when you look at the Club World Cup now, it's only really two games for European teams.
Hmm.
A whole tournament in South America for a team from England is very strange, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Mid-season as well, remember? And yeah, it was very strange. I mean, at the time, I think we were pressured as well to take part, and it would be good for the Premier League, like for the image of it and stuff. But at the expense of being of sitting out the FA Cup, in retrospect, I don't think was the right decision. It kind of just takes away from the oldest cup competition.
yeah, Fergie got a lot of stick in the media for that
Mm,
decision.
hmm.
Um, and it meant that we basically didn't attempt to defend our treble. We just kind of
Yeah, yeah,
forfeited them.
yeah, which is kind of
Mhm.
strange as well in itself.
Yeah. So come back to the present day. Um, been a lot of transfer rumors, and the further, the closer we get to May, the more these are going to ramp up.
Hmm.
Now I want to get on to Harry Kane, who he's has continued to be linked with United in recent weeks. It's probably going to be his last opportunity to get a big move, given that he turns
Yeah.
30 in July. We see that Ten Hag likes these players in that age bracket. Seen Ericsson, Casemiro, Weghorst, to name a few. Me personally, I prefer to sign someone younger who's got more years in him. But if we did pair up Harry Kane with Rashford, that would be, a real mouth-watering prospect. But then again, we have to look at all the caveats as well. Um, he's going to be very, very expensive.
Mm.
Daniel Levy will drag this out as long as he can, even if there is only 1 year left on his deal. Um, I think they're trying to tie him down now to another new contract. Um, the, Obviously the age factor as well, but I do think that if Ten Hag wants him, then I'll go along with it. But it's not a long-term solution. It's going to be another signing that's going to last about 3 seasons, and that's it. But if our objective next season is to win the league and make a big challenge for the Champions League, then it makes total sense. But it's definitely not a sign for the future, is it? So, what is your thoughts on it?
Yeah, pretty much the same. It's one of those reminiscent of the Van Persie move, where at the time I felt what we needed was, it was the equivalent of putting a fresh lick of paint on a wall that needs replastering. So in the short term, it's all fine and glossy, but it's not really, what you need for the long term. But I will say this though, like from a footballing perspective, I can't doubt it. When I see the way we're using Weghorst, imagining Kane there instead, I mean, it totally changes our team. He's a player who's had criticism as well for how much he's dropped back and gets involved and does all the other things. Overall, as a striker, he's one of the best out there. Not just in terms of goal output, but the way he links and with the rest of the team and brings the best out of the others. It would allow Rashford to stay out on that left hand side. It's a connection they've got at international level as well. So in the short term, I think it would be a fantastic signing, to be honest. What does concern me is the wages, not the wages, the transfers fee itself. Because, like you say, Daniel Levy is difficult to negotiate with at the best of times, and even with just a year left on his contract, I think they'll hold out for something ridiculous. So that would be my concern. And also, like, our ownership stuff is up in the air, right? So until that's sorted, we won't really know what kind of budget we have to work with going forward. So if we are restricted budget wise, I wouldn't like us to just spend the bulk of our budget on him if it means we can't address anything else. So it's one of those ones. But I certainly wouldn't turn my nose up at Harry Kane. I think he's a fantastic player.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be up to Ten Hag to decide what area of the pitch he wants to spend big on, and then the other areas you have to look for more bargains, let's say. I
Yeah,
think,
yeah. But one of the hardest things to do in the game is, is to put the ball in the back of the net. And in Kane, you've got someone who guarantees that.
yeah, even in let's be honest, a very average Tottenham team, um, this season he still scored over 20 goals. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Like, if you look at this, even this season, the only reason people aren't waxing lyrical about Harry Kane is because of that cyborg at City. Uh, if I think, yeah, after Haaland, he's the next one, with the most goal contributions.
Um, yeah, he's been in unbelievable form as always, and breaking seems to break a record with every passing game. So I certainly won't complain if he comes to United. But my first choice would, if we're going to spend £100 million on the striker, it
Mm.
has to be Victor Osimhen for me. But another kind of left field option would be Ivan Ferguson at Brighton. Who already has 5 goals and 4 assists in the Premier League before this weekend. Um, yeah, but we could also make the argument that you could bring an experienced striker like Harry Kane, who's 30, and then bring in an 18 year
And
old
then
to
bring in
learn.
a youngster. Yeah, yeah. That would be an ideal situation, really. Yeah, getting both experience and someone young.
Yeah, and then having Vaggy there as an option as well, because yeah, if Veghorst was even it was second choice, you might say still not good enough. But even as third choice, I'd be more than happy for Veghorst to remain for at least another season. Again, I'm happy with whatever Ten Hag goes with in terms of Veghorst. If he stays or goes, I won't complain either way. To be honest with you, is that how you see it too?
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, listen, we just needed a body in the January transfer window. I'm not convinced that Weghorst is the way to go in terms of a permanent transfer. But we'll have to wait and see. But like you say, if he's like third choice, then I'm really not going to complain.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would complain if he's third choice, because he
Yeah.
still brings a lot. He may not bring goals, but he brings just about
Hmm.
everything else, really. Um, Now, what we definitely need, and after another suspension, is an alternative to Casemiro. 100%, that has to be a priority.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, he needs some kind of able deputy is needed, someone younger who can fill in.
yeah, and someone who's like um, has better capabilities than McTominay, let's say. Now, a player who's been attracting attention in the Premier League is Polinia at Fulham. Is that his name? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, João Palhinha. I mean, I think
yeah.
we've missed the boat on João Palhinha. I mean, absolute bargain for Fulham. They picked him up for 20 million from Sporting Lisbon, and now I'm hearing quotes of about 60, which is wild. Which is wild. For he's 27 going on 28 as well, so not the youngest replacement or backup to Casemiro. So it's a bit of a nonsensical one for me.
Yeah, there are many options out there, but he's the one being linked today. But I'm sure it'll be somebody
Yeah,
else tomorrow.
I quite like the look of Lavia actually at Southampton, but I know he's come from Man City, and I don't know if they've got a buyback option on him. But if they get
Or an
relegated,
anti-United.
potential or an anti-United clause, yeah,
Yeah,
because I know they did that with Brahim Diaz when they sold him to
yeah,
Real Madrid.
yeah.
Yeah,
Forgot to do that
um,
with Sancho.
yeah, they
Yeah,
forgot with Sancho. I mean, do you know, I'll tell you what, that's probably why they've done that. But yeah, if if Southampton or if one or two of the teams go down this season, there's some bargains to be had. All of the teams down at the bottom have got a few decent players.
yeah. We can get another bargain like David Bally on that time when Sunderland get relegated.
Oh dear, oh dear.
um, Yeah, another player. I know he's obviously not going to be a direct replacement or a direct alternative for Casemiro if he's suspended or injured.
Mm.
But another midfielder in the Premier League who I'm a huge fan of is Alexis McAllister at Brighton. I think
Yeah.
he's 9 goals already this season. Obviously, he's won the World Cup mid-season too. I think he's only going to get better.
Oh, lovely player, lovely player. I think the only the problem is that we've seen Brighton turn down 70 million for Southsider in Jan. So that shows you the power of Premier League clubs now. They won't be held to ransom, and yeah, it's
Yeah, it'd be
they
massive.
don't have to sell. So yeah, it's going to cost a huge fee
Mhm.
to praise some of these talents away. I mean, they got 62 million for Cucurella on the back of one season.
Yeah, and that effectively means if anyone tries to sign an attacking midfielder or a striker from Brighton, it's
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
cost about 70 or 80 million.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, minimum. So it's a bit crazy at the moment. So that's yeah, that would be my concern. Because if you're talking that ballpark figure, then we can go out and get one of the best out there.
Although you would like to think that Ivan Ferguson, given his age profile and the amount of appearances that he's made,
Mm.
which is still very low, that it wouldn't be in that kind of bracket. They couldn't justify like 80 million for him. Like,
Yeah,
you,
but in this day and age, though, Carl, like they like to estimate their ceiling and then charge you for that as well.
yeah,
It's all based on potential, isn't it? I mean, when I look at the Mudrich deal, for example, it's madness.
yeah.
88 million for a guy who's come out of the Ukrainian league who hasn't played since October. That's mad.
Yeah, I know, and all that's going to do is inflate the market as well for other teams.
Yeah, yeah. But as for Ferguson, though, I mean, yeah, he's made a good impression on me, but I'd like to see more of him. So I'd like to see him continue doing it consistently. So another season there is probably best for his development at this stage.
Yeah, I would think so. And then if we bring in Kane, then Ferguson could maybe replace him in 3 years if
Yeah,
if
that's the key,
if
isn't it?
he
You can't
develops.
just, yeah, you can't sign him and then rest on your laurels. You still need to be scouting the market, uh, putting the work in, and maybe unearthing one or two gems. Not everyone has to be a star signing for a boatload of money.
Yeah, yeah, but I just we all love a good superstar signing, don't we? And
Mm.
um, Victor Osimhen just makes my mouth water at the prospect of him coming in to play alongside Rashford. Um, yeah, I think.
I think he's probably the most difficult to get though,
Yeah,
because I mean
but
Napoli are absolutely flying in their league. Unless it's a capitulation of just you know absolute capitulation, like you'd think that Serie A is wrapped up, and they're doing quite well in Europe as well. So they'll probably want to push on and see how far they can get in that.
yeah, but we know how it is. You know, if he wins the league, if he won the league and Champions League
Mm,
at Napoli, he'd say, "Well, I've done it all here. I
mm.
want to go to the
And
Premier League." And
if they fall short in the Champions League, I could see them being like, "Give us one more year," because him and his mate Kavicha, they're both very young. They're still. He's only what 23, I think. So he's still young enough that they'll be like, "Listen, just give us one more year. We're going to go again, and then we'll let you go afterwards if we don't achieve our goals."
yeah, well, he's already said in an interview that he
Mm,
wants to come to the Premier League. It's always been his dream,
hmm
and Odion Gallo has been trying to convince him to come to United, which you would expect.
Yeah, yeah. Like this summer, honestly, I think the only club that will pay the kind of fee required would probably be Chelsea. um, because the Napoli owners will easily stick 150 million on him.
Yeah. Yes, the Chelsea transfer policy just makes my mind boggle. I just can't get my head
Yeah,
around it.
yeah. And then I
Um,
do have some not concerns, but obviously he's 23, Victor Osimhen. There's a lot more to his game that he needs to develop. Um, and one of the things I've seen with him is the quality of defending and goalkeeping in Serie A is not great. So as good as some of the goals are, like I question whether that would be transferable in the Premier League. Um, as a ready-made striker, I think Kane would probably be more for the here and now than Osimhen, who would take time to
yeah,
settle.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, you'd have to say that Kane absolutely guarantees goals if he
Yeah,
comes in. Whereas Osimhen probably will do well, but
yeah.
there's
The
always a
short
chance of.
termism is the only thing. But then even then, listen, he's not a player that relies on pace, Harry Kane. So you could just, he's an intelligent player as well. He's got very good feet. Yeah, obviously there's no resale value when you're getting somebody at this age. So you
Yeah,
could just keep him for 4 years or so.
yeah,
And also after next year's tournament, if he retires from internationals, um, that would also prolong his Premier League career.
yeah. You know what? Kane could be our Teddy Sheringham signing the Texas to the treble. Coming from
Yeah,
Tottenham, you know.
yeah. And then when you and listen, he'll have Alan Shearer's record in his sights as well, and he's only what 60 goals or less than that away now. And Shearer retired at 30 actually from internationals after Euro 2000. Um, so if Kane does something similar, that could also give him some longevity. The injury concerns for me aren't really there anymore. I know people talk about that, but he's had like 3 injuries in the past 3 years. Um, so yeah, he's pretty injury free. It's a bit of a non-starter that one.
Yeah, yeah, looking positive this season on the injury front. So it'll be like every summer he gets linked with a move and it never happens. So I'm still
Yeah,
skeptical, still
yeah,
skeptical about
yeah.
it.
Same. Unless he really refuses to sign a new contract or anything, and then they're faced with the possibility of selling. But even then, there is a chance that they might just hold on and be like, "Listen, we're happy to let you go for free next year. We just want another year out of you." Um,
Yeah, well, that'll be a decision for Daniel Levy.
yeah.
What's the
I
money?
mean,
The money.
if that's the case, then I say we wait till like Jan and offer him a free contract and get him for free
Yeah,
next summer.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we definitely have to sign a striker this summer, though. No doubt
Oh
about that.
yeah,
Like,
that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing, isn't it? You need somebody. But this is a question though. Would you sign somebody either short term if that were the case and wait for Kane, or bring in a younger striker perhaps?
yeah. If we're going to bring in, yeah, but we're already doing the short termism. We can't really delay it any further, can we? You know.
Yeah, that's the thing. And then with his age in mind as well, you can't really delay that. If you want Kane, it has to be this summer, really.
Yeah, it's not like he's 25. I think we have to get him now. I
Yeah.
think.
Mm.
Yeah, even if we brought in Ferguson in the summer and signed Harry Kane in the summer after, I don't think that would be enough. We need to get
No.
guaranteed goals right now, because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's something that's
Yeah, the
caused us.
only short-term signing I would take is it would have to be somebody exceptional. I'd be looking at the likes of Benzema, whose contract is up in the summer, seeing if he fancies a new challenge, and seeing his mate Rafa and Cass again.
It's going to get to the point where it's like Real Madrid old boys. Can they win the Champions League with United? You know.
Yeah. Listen, there's one or two because I'm not usually a big fan of bringing people into from their 30s to the club, but on short-term deals, yeah. Especially we've seen, with Ericsson on how it can be profitable in the short term. So yeah, the likes of Luka Modric, Karim Benzema, you're more than welcome to come.
Absolutely. Yeah. Another player who potentially available for free this summer is David Raya, the Brentford goalkeeper.
Mm.
What's your thoughts on that?
As a free transfer, I mean, yeah, it's one that we should consider. Um, Obviously, there's a lot of talk now about playing out from the back and distribution, and some of the Hayes kicking in that it has been a concern for me um, in recent weeks, and uh, but at the same time, the shot stopping, like you
Incredible.
do lose several levels when it comes to the shot stopping when you get rid of him. For me, in the market, there's no outstanding candidate for goalkeeper for me. Um, Obviously, the scouts will have to do their due diligence as well. But with the big names that are being linked, like Diogo Costa at Porto and even Raya, with Raya, yeah, the saves it's just not there for me. It's not there.
Yeah, we're in a bit of a, it's a difficult situation because you don't want to lose someone with that shot stopping ability,
Yeah,
um, just to have someone who's good with his feet. I think what we want ideally is someone who's excellent with the ball at his feet, um, but it's
And
just
who
a
can
slight.
develop the shot stopping, who's young enough, who
Yeah,
can who's got a high ceiling.
yeah, I was going to say someone who's just you're never going to get someone on the Gay's level when it comes to
Yeah,
shop
no,
stopping. Just
no.
someone who's a slight drop off.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, who can eventually reach those levels would be ideal. But that's what I mean. I don't think there is a balance of the two out there that's an outstanding candidate. The Diogo Costa guy, I know he's like 22 and he's quite highly rated. From when I've seen him, he's quite error prone as well. But as you are at 22 for a goalkeeper, um, but he also signed a new contract a couple months back, and it comes with like a 70 million euro release clause, which is ridiculous. He's worth about half of that. Um, and you know how relentless our fan base is as well. Like he will come in for a lot of criticism, similar to Anthony. Um, but David Raya on a free, I wouldn't say no. But does he come in and immediately claim the number one spot? I don't know. Um, uh, yeah,
yeah,
it's one of those. I'll take him on a free, no problem. But then I'll probably keep him in rotation with David for a year at least and see how it transpires.
yeah. I think that'd be a good plan. Have him as a
Mm,
rotational option for a year, and then we can make a decision.
hmm
If the Gay stays on and signs a new deal, it's gonna be a massive pay cut, I think. And I
Yeah.
think he's willing to do that. Um, but yeah, we need to have the Gay, especially in that Betis game.
Mm.
It was a horror show with the kicking.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. A bit like the problem we have with Dallo and Wan-Bissaka, where in games where we need to be more defensively astute, you bring on Wambi. Maybe that can be a situation with the goalkeepers, where there'll be certain games where you insist on playing out from the back, where Ray is more suited, and then when you're gonna have shots raining down on you, it's David.
yeah, this podcast seems to be all about ideals. Yeah, we've been discussing the ideals when it comes to strikers, goalkeepers, right backs.
Yep.
But let's be honest, not all of these things are going to happen in the summer.
No, no, no. That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, it'll probably take two windows. But ideally, what we need a striker definitely. I think we need two midfielders, one ball progressor and one some sort of backup for Cass, and then we look at right back and then goalkeeper.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your thoughts on? I know he's injured at the moment. We've been we want when it comes to midfielders, we want backup for Casemiro, but we
Hmm.
also want another attacking player.
Yeah.
Um, I know the manager obviously favors Frankie De Jong, but that remains to be seen if that's
Eh,
going to happen.
Listen, even Fabrizio Romano was quoting him the other day, and he's still saying that he's happy at Barca and wants to be there for many years. So, and we don't know if he's just saying that or if he means it, but it's one of those ones. I can't have another summer like last year. Um,
No, no, no.
so as soon as this window starts, or as soon as the season ends, I reckon we should probably make one offer for Frankie. And if they say no, or if the player's not receptive, then fine, we just move on.
Yeah, had to move on very sharply. I think.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, nobody wants that saga again.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, he'll be loyal to Barcelona until they are relegated for paying referees, and then he'll
yeah,
want to come
yeah.
to United.
And I think the way that yeah, because we looked into his contract a little bit summer, didn't we? And the way it's all structured, I mean, it really pays for him to stay there. Um, so yeah, I can't fault him, I guess. But yeah, that's the profile of player we need. We need a ball progressing midfielder. Obviously, there are others out there. Barella at Inter Milan, I'm a fan of. I know Italians don't really travel abroad too often though, and I don't know how realistic that will be. Um, but yeah, he's a good player. I like him. Another one who went to Bayern Munich and has been sat on the bench this year, Ryan Gravenberch, and he's a player that Ten Hag will know all about, and he's only 21. If an opportunity arose to get him, that's one I'd look at.
Yeah, 100%. There are going to be probably two Dutch signings in the summer,
Yeah,
or so,
yeah, that's for sure.
or players who have played under Ten
Oh,
Hag.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. Don't be surprised if we go back in for Timber.
Yeah.
because he's a player that's quite versatile as well. So not only can he play centre back, but he can play right back as well. And I think
Yeah.
that might be a happy medium.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that happening easily. Yeah.
Mm,
It's hard to predict really who we're going to sign in the summer.
yeah,
But hopefully we have a good window, and then we can really, really challenge for the league next season. Because there's still a lot of holes to plug, as we've seen in recent weeks. We're certainly not the finished article by any means. So
definitely.
someone who's joined us there is Huddersfield Town fan AFC. From what I remember, the last show that he joined us on, he seems to be a bit of a Man United sympathiser, which I find very, very rare these days. If you don't support United, you tend to be a hater. But he seems to
Yeah,
be very, very different. He was very fair in the last show that he participated in. So I was delighted to see that. Yeah, it makes a pleasant change from the norm. Most people want to see United lose, every single week. But anyway, I think we'll wrap it up there. Hopefully, we'll get the job done and Betis get the nil-nil draw. That's all we need, and then we can move on to Fulham in the quarterfinal of the FA Cup, albeit
yes,
without Casemiro again for Pete's sake. So that should be difficult. Although Arsenal made very short work of them, which I was surprised at.
very light work.
Um,
They made very light work, and I was very surprised at that result and the way they
but yeah,
played.
yeah. But I think we're going to make hard work of this. I think if we'll get through this
Yeah,
by the skin of our teeth,
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
even
That's the
extra
other.
time.
That's the that's the other thing. We can't draw comparisons to how Arsenal are doing at the moment because they're really turning it on.
Yeah, I can easily see extra time penalties here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, which is we don't want because our penalty
yeah.
record is
I just hope
absolutely dreadful.
Pereira isn't the one to punish us. That would just make me cry.
Now that you mention it, I can see it happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Daniel James, or someone like
Mm,
that. I know I don't think he starts many games, or he did score against
no,
us
no.
earlier in the season.
Yeah, yeah, he did.
Advantage.
But yeah, I think he's fallen down the pecking order now.
Yeah, and we needed a very, very late winner from Garnacho in that game to get
Yeah,
the points. Yeah, I can see this being a very, very difficult tie. Probably very getting very
same.
nipping,
But
very.
again, this is why I hope that any changes that are made, a bit like well, before we went into Anfield, I actually thought we prepared for it quite well with the rotations because we made 6 changes against West Ham in the cup. So yeah, I hope if there is any rotation to be had, I hope it comes against Betis and we're fully prepared for Fulham.
Yeah, yeah, that should be what the manager will do,
Yeah,
because you think the baddest game we've got 1 foot in the next round, so we just
yeah,
need to
yeah.
send a team out there to get the job done, get over the line,
Yeah, basically, just need to get over the line. And then Fulham, I mean, the FA Cup, we're not going to get a better chance than this in the FA Cup. I think
yeah,
Man City are the only other real big threat left in the competition, right?
yeah. But I do think we're going to
Yeah,
have to beat City to win the tournament.
yeah.
The way it's shaping up, hopefully not to the final.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so
If
we
we
need to
do
get.
get the well, one step at a time, isn't it? We shouldn't look past Fulham. But if we do progress and end up drawing anyone, I'd want it to be City before we get to the final.
And why would that? Why would you want to play them in the semi final?
Uh, because I'd because if you beat them and get to the final, I think you're just exuding confidence, and I want to go into a final where I can enjoy and not be a nervous wreck. And not be a nervous wreck. I'd rather knock the big team out before getting to the final. There's no worse feeling than getting to the final and losing. Um, it's a
Uh,
bit weird. I've always been of I've always been of the sense that I'd rather not get to a final than get to a final and lose.
yeah.
So my logic is if you knock out the big guns, you can go into that day just relaxed and confident.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So you want to have Grimsby Town in the final then?
Yeah, listen, yeah. Bring on all of those. Run back the cup final we had against. Well, yeah, because last time we won it, we was what? It was Crystal Palace. Yeah, United have had all the ones that we won in the FA Cup. The one before I think was Millwall in '04. Yeah. Those are the kind of finals I like. '08, it was an absolute disgrace that we didn't make it there. It should have been us versus Cardiff.
Yeah, that game against Portsmouth
It was a
was
crazy
great.
game. I don't know how we didn't make it. Yeah, there was one.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
dominated that game.
Yeah, hit the bar. Ball was cleared off the line, and then Rio Ferdinand ended up in goal.
Yeah, and Sylvain Distan's foul on Ronaldo was a clear penalty
Mm.
from what I remember as well. That
Hmm.
wasn't given. Yeah, it's just a barge into the chest. And, yeah, it was a strange game where we had about 30 shots on goal and we lost
Yeah,
1-0. Yeah,
yeah, and any other time we have played half decent opposition, the final's just been so dead. I think
yeah,
2018 was the last one, was it? Chelsea. That
yeah,
yeah, it was the Hazard penalty. Terrible final. Uh,
the,
07 we played them as well. Again,
yeah,
terrible final when Drogba
yeah,
scored.
yep, it was,
Yeah,
yeah. And the final against Liverpool '96 was a terrible match as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
Um, although Newcastle '99 got 2 goals
yep,
quite early enough in that game, I think.
yeah.
That wasn't too bad. And then, but there was one really good final by us, '94, 4-0 against
Oh yes,
Chelsea.
against Chelsea. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
4-0. I think that one was, wasn't it? Yeah, Hughes and Cantona. Mm.
yeah, that was a really good final. Uh, yeah, I don't mind. Well, we play. I'm okay with playing City in the final because I'll take the gamble.
No,
You know.
listen. As in, it's a privilege to get to any final. So if that's how it happens, then it's totally fine. Yeah, this is just me being a bit extra. I just prefer it if if we can knock them out before we get there.
Yeah. Yeah, but I've no doubt if we get past Fulham, we're going to have to play them at some point to win the
Yeah,
tournament.
yeah.
Mm, yeah, that's the way things are going because all the other big teams have been knocked out
Also,
for
the
now.
other thing is, I just have a feeling that they're going to prioritize the Champions League, aren't they?
You
So
think
I
so?
think that might play into our favor as well if we play them before the final.
Yeah, if we were playing them in, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I know Fulham
Yeah.
fans will feel disrespected,
Yes.
but but if we're playing Man City in a semi final and it's in between 2 legs of a Champions League,
Yeah, yeah, that would be ideal. You'd think they
yeah,
would rest up and go easy
yeah.
against us.
Although I doubt they'll want to go easy against us,
No,
given who
no,
we
they won't
are and
want
all.
to. But I mean, I think they play this week, don't they? And it's 1-1 with them and Leipzig. So yeah, Champions League is providing to be a bit of a task for them.
Yeah, it certainly is. So we will leave it there. Please subscribe to the podcast, drop us a like on the video, and get your comments in down below. And it has been a pleasure to have you on the show again, Brush.
Yeah, yeah, it's brilliant. And I just want to say, we mean no disrespect to any Fulham fans that are listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure, both of us have stated that it's going to be a very difficult match and could
Oh
go
yeah,
to
it
penalty.
absolutely is. Yeah, it's just that we just get carried away when talking about our club. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, we're looking ahead of how we're going to. When you support a team at United, you're looking about how you're going to win the tournament. Um, you tend to look past the current
Yeah, and
opposition.
we tend to gloss over the fact that we've been knocked out of the cup many times by teams like in different divisions, let alone in the Premier League.
Yeah. Oh, I remember an FA Cup tie against Fulham in '09, and we
Mm,
were very, very good that day. I think it was at the Cottage. I think
yeah.
Tevez scored an absolute screamer in that game.
Mm.
I think Vidic had to clear
All
one
I
off the
remember
wing.
from '09 is one of the worst penalties I've ever seen in my life from Dimitar Berbatov against Everton.
Yeah, yeah, I was in the next round,
Yeah,
unfortunately,
yeah.
because it was a heavily rotated team against
Mm,
Everton because we were in
mm,
so many comps, and we gave that one away, unfortunately.
yeah.
Um, was it Phil Jagielka scored like the winning penalty or something?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just remember
that was
Berba's
bad.
miss. It was terrible because yeah, could have made that
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, it was a very poorly hit penalty, with no power in
Mm,
it at all, and I think
hmm.
Kim Hard basically caught it. And I was at the next game at Old Trafford. I think we were playing Portsmouth, and when
Yeah.
Berbatov's name was written out, there was a few boos from the crowd. They're very unhappy with that penalty. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it was really bad, really bad. I think because of his lethargic style as well. You're not quite sure if he meant to do that or it looked really bad.
yeah, anyone can miss. If you go for power and miss, no one will criticize you. But
Yeah.
that was it was such a casually hit penalty. That's it.
Hmm.
But okay, we'll finish off there, and I will see you again shortly. Then, Brush.
Yeah, take care.
Yeah, see you later.